Hello and welcome back to the Ash and Stone channel. My name is Chris and today I'm going to show you how I'm painting my Oathmark Goblin Slaves. I don't imagine Goblin Slaves live particularly pleasant or indeed long lives and are likely to wear the cheapest, nastiest cloth and wield the least desirable weapons. So with those ideas in mind, I start with a black undercoat. And I paint the skin using Vallejo light grey green. It is a light colour, so it takes a couple of coats to get a reasonable base down, but I was really happy with the orc skin tone in the previous Oathmark painting video, so I want to use a similar colour on my goblins, though not as dark. To achieve this, I will then give the skin a coat of Army Painter Speed Paint Gravelord Grey. This gives us a much lighter base to work from. Once that's dry, I go through and use light grey green to re-establish the base colour, leaving the speed paint in the darker recesses. Vallejo Silver Grey is mixed into the light grey green to give us a pale highlight, which is, surprisingly enough, used to highlight the high points of the face, arms and hands. While I'm working on the face, I use a little horizontal line of black to fill in the eyes, followed by a couple of dots of white to pick out the whites. Then it's on to the tunics. I use the 3-colour technique scheme malarkey to give them a bit of a ragtag look without having to use too many colours. To represent undyed fabric, I chose to use the colours Vallejo German Camouflage Beige World War II, Army Painter Banshee Brown, and Army Painter Filthy Cape. Once again, it takes a couple of coats of each of these paints to get a reasonable base coat, but it doesn't need to be perfect. These are slave tunics after all. While I mix and match colours between the tunics, mantles and hoods, I avoid using Filthy Cape and Banshee Brown on the same model as I think the two colours look awful when put side to side. Army Painted Dark Tone is used to shade the Filthy Cape, using a light coat mainly focused on the recesses. Banshee Brown and German Camouflage Beige are shaded using Army Painter Soft Tone, which is applied fairly liberally. Once the wash has dried, I go through each of the 3 colours, reapplying the base and highlighting one at a time. I use a little silver grey mixed with a Filthy Cape to create the highlight, and I very lightly dry brush a little pure silver grey over the grey cloth in a vertical or horizontal direction to create fine lines that invoke the threads of rough cloth. It's the same process for both Banshee Brown and German Camouflage Beige. For the highlight, I mix in a little Vallejo off-white with the base colour and then dry brush with pure off-white to get that coarse thread effect. While I've got the off-white out, I also paint each of the figure's teeth. Vallejo Chocolate Brown is used to base the weapon hafts and handles, and these areas are highlighted with Vallejo Beige Brown, and long streaks down the length of the shaft to represent wood grain. Vallejo Iraqi sand is used to base coat the rags wrapped around the feet and the figure's rope belts. I'm not worried about getting a solid coat here, patchy will work just fine. Army Painter Strong Tone is used to shade the areas of brown and Iraqi sand I just painted, as well as to add stains to the clothing. They are looking far too clean at the moment. I use the wash along the bottom edges of the tunics, under the arms to make sweat stains, and dot on splatters of who knows what in various random locations. To make the slaves look even more wretched, I mix a little Army Painter red tone in with the strong tone and paint on crossing lines across the figure's back to represent blood stains from being whipped. While I've got the red tone out, I also wash the areas around the manacles as the skin is worn away by the unrelenting steel. Speaking of which, let's grab some Vallejo natural steel and base coat the metal areas, which are then given a coat of Army Painter Speed Paint Grim Black to give that forged blackened look I can't help but do now. While I wait for that to dry, the model's hair is painted black to clean up anywhere I painted outside the lines, followed by a highlight using Vallejo Black Grey. I want the weapons and manacles to be rusty, so I give them a coat of Army Painter Speed Paint Fire Giant Orange, followed by a half dry brush, half stipple of Citadel Riser Rust. That's the figure pretty well done. So it's given a coat of Tamiya Flat Clear to protect the paint and remove any shine, before the figure is based using my usual method of grout and static grass. So there we go. It's a simple paint job, but I think it gives the effect of poorly treated slaves, clad only in the cheapest and filthiest rags, and armed with whatever was left over at the bottom of the sticker pile. Their weapons haven't even been sharpened. Who's going to trust a goblin slave enough to give them a sharp weapon? Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you have found this video useful, and thank you very much to my supporters on Patreon. Your continued support is very much appreciated. Anyway, we shall see you all next time. Cheers.